As more data is collected about the Omicron variant, EU countries are enforcing stricter entry rules. In November, Europe imposed travel restrictions on 7 southern African countries, despite calls from the World Health Organization that flight restrictions won't stop the spread of the variant.
Well, in Germany, where case numbers are rapidly increasing, vaccinations could be made mandatory by February, and the Omicron variant has seen a number of countries tightening up entry rules for holidaymakers in a bid to stop the curve of the new COVID variant.
Well, that includes some popular holiday destinations such as Spain and France, which have introduced new entry requirements, while holiday spots including Switzerland and Austria also have rules in place ahead of ski season.
Yes, it turned out that the skiers were the super spreaders initially, didn't it? But there we go. For more on this is journalist Alex Story, who joins us live now, all the way from Austria. Thank you very much. What's it like over there for you at the minute? I think we spoke a couple of weeks ago and it was looking a bit bleak.
Well, it's unfortunate. There are two things happening. The sun is shining and it snows at night. So you've got a great combination of a great outdoors, a lot of snow. Unfortunately, no skiers because it's been in lockdown for quite some time. And the restrictions that the Austrian government is talking about will ease for 2G for people who have the vaccine and for people who are immunized. The issue there, obviously, is that the Austrian government is saying, welcome to Austria. You can come with a PCR test. But if you do come with just a PCR test and you're obviously testing negative, there's nothing you can do when you arrive. And given that the temperatures are below zero and freezing, if you can't go into a hotel, Austria is not going to be very, very welcoming for you and for your family.
And it's a similar picture. Well, it seems to be an ever-increasing picture around Europe as well now. Doesn't it? Germany potentially about to introduce mandatory vaccines as well. You know, in Greece, we're seeing the idea now that if you're unvaccinated, you have quite big restrictions on your life. Slovakia, for example. I mean, it's the Netherlands as well. I mean, there was some pretty fruity stuff that happened there. It's all gone very quiet about when police may or may not have opened fire on a couple of people who were quite a big crowd, actually, who were protesting. But is Europe under the thumb here? Do you think there's a risk of it becoming very, very authoritarian?
Well, I mean, yeah, there's some pretty scary stories. I mean, just have to go north of Austria, which is obviously Germany. And there are 3 stories, I think, that tell a really good story. The first one was reported in Die Welt, which is the equivalent of The Guardian in Germany. And it's essentially about the ritual humiliation of children who are asked to go to the front of the class and state their vaccination status daily. Those who are vaccinated are applauded. Those who are not have to explain why they're not. So that's the one story, I think, that really kind of should raise an alarm bell for people who are for the mandate. The other one is the discussion of wristbands for people to go shopping, and those people who don't have the wristbands won't be able to go shopping across a multitude of stores. The third one, which I think is possibly more reminiscent of 1930s Germany, was an attack on coffee shops who were giving out coffees for free for people who were either vaxxed or unvaxxed, and that was in Berlin, and it was reported in the Tagesspiegel. And in fact, the campaign against that these various coffee shops was launched by the Tagesspiegel itself. So you see, there is a real darkening of the moon, regardless of the fact that the sky is blue. The death rates from the vaccine, from the virus, have plummeted. So it's not quite as nice as it seems.
No.
I mean, one of the things that really frustrates me is that when we have this demonisation of the unvaccinated, is that it actually affects all of us, even people like myself who have been vaccinated. If there was actually a sense that, you got the vaccine and everything goes back to normal for you, then I might be even more understanding of the rationale. But actually, even if you've had your vaccine, then you have, vaccine passports. You still have to suggest various different measures in place, like masks if you're going, traveling or in shops. So even for people that have had the vaccine, it doesn't seem to really be getting back to normal life or freedom either.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. The other thing is that it really breaks friendships because you start and creates tensions within families because you don't always see eye to eye with your spouse and you might have different views on a variety of things. And so I noticed that in Germany and in Austria. I speak to a lot of people across the cities of these two countries. And the first question is a really personal one. The first question that people ask you is your vaccine status. I mean, I don't go around asking people if they've got a vaccine against herpes. I mean, it would be maybe something that we should try and introduce just to make people realize just how uncomfortable a question that is. But the interesting thing is, as we even see broadly in our rhetoric, the US's biggest online dictionary, Merriam-Webster, describes or defines an anti-vaxxer as somebody who is against the vaccine mandate, which, if you think about it, is a very binary view of looking at this particular issue.
I agree completely. What's the economic situation like at the moment, Alex? Because we were having a chat off air actually about this, and we're looking now, obviously the economy, certainly in this country anyway, massively took a hit at the start of the pandemic, naturally. And then it started to look like we were emerging out of this now. We were getting a bit of economic growth. And then all of a sudden we were slapped with a load of green taxes that, as yet, we haven't been consulted on. And then now we're potentially going to enact something that could cost us £4 billion a month, which is quite a lot of money, really, when you consider it like that. What's the state of play across Europe? Is Europe getting poorer?
Well, yeah, I mean, of course they are. Inflation rates are extremely high. If you think about Germany, or if you look at inflation across the EU, it's around 5%. Specifically for Germany, it's much higher than that. So there are two things that are linked, actually. If you think about where we are and why we've done the things we've done, the only reason why we've gone into lockdown is because politicians thought they could afford it. And the reason why they thought they could afford it is because suddenly in 2008, after the financial crash, people thought that you could just print money. Without this idea of being able to print money, there would have been no lockdown. There would have been a 1950s type of American view of the pandemic, which is we have to look after the people who are most vulnerable. We have to look after the old, the infirm, but we've got to go about our lives. We've got to be able to go out and do sports. We've got to work. We've got to be able to do all these things without restrictions. I think the issue is that the governments have essentially decided that they could print their way, they could print money and solve all issues. And that's the really big issue that will make sure that that the entire EU, but Germany and Austria specifically, are impoverished year by year.
Yeah. All right, Alex, thank you very much. And look, it's fantastic to have you on. And a good look where you are as well. And look, I'd like to keep getting you on, actually, as we get updates from across Europe. You seem ideally placed to do that. So thank you very much. Journalist Alex Story.